embrace lifelong learning. Technology evolves every day, and so do trends. So try to keep intact with that. Learn to network. Building relationships is very important, as important as building the code. So attend meetups, join tech communities, and connect with people. And then lastly but not least, don't be afraid of challenges. If there is one thing that I hope you'll take away from my story today, it's this: every challenge you face is helping you grow. Being a migrant might feel a bit as a disadvantage at times, but it gives you a unique perspective and strength that others might not have. That resilience, that adaptability, that might be your superpower. The tech industry is open to anyone willing to learn, adapt, and persist. You're already taking the first step by being here today. So keep pushing forward, stay curious, and build your network. I can't wait to see what the future holds for each of you. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you need further support. Thank you very much. And I'll pass it over to Abhishek.
Oh, thanks for that. I was just going to say, Abhishek, before we come to you, have we moved the slide along, Ellen, just so that the audience can see the panel members? That'd be amazing. Thank you. Welcome, Abhishek. Over to you.
Next one. Thanks, Agatha. That was awesome, actually. Yeah, I mean, my journey as well, as a migrant to what I am doing right now. So what I'm doing, you can see it's enterprise architecture. So what is enterprise architect doing in the bank? So as an enterprise architect, we need to look at the technical roadmap, support the leaders in executing the big technical programs. In the bank, our team also acts as a governance as such to see if whatever the work which is getting along is as per the bank strategy, technical strategy, and it's in within the cost stipulations as well. So yeah, it's quite a responsibility. But I mean, how did I get here? Means I was born and brought up in Mumbai, in India, in middle class family. English wasn't my first language, but in India everyone speaks English, so that was an advantage in a way. I grew up and studied everything in different language altogether, and then switched to English when I went for my engineering course. Basically, did my engineering in 2005, started the work in integration. In a couple of years only, I was sent over here in UK for a project, basically for ABN AMRO actually, which then was bought by RBS and become Natwest. So I've been with the bank since then. Um, and in ABN AMRO, actually I worked with Noel at that time in 2007, but there it was a challenging. So I was barely experienced in technology, and I was expected to do a lot, take handover from years of experienced people actually. Um, there was a language problem as well, as I said. Language is, at least I knew English, but it was the accent which was a bit difficult to understand, and the culture, of course. So I was used to say yes to everything at that time, and the other cultural nuances, basically. But I dig in. The team was great. That helped a lot, actually. So we did a lot of re-engineering on the platform, which I came on integration, went into senior engineer, and then lead engineer. Eventually, I started leading the whole of a platform. So leading quite a big team. Means it became very curious. Where some at one point of time, some people I used to report started reporting to me, etc. So but it was too much from the management point of view, so I moved to the architecture side. um, and then I led a few good programs in the bank, from wealth, where it was a mobile banking app setup, etc. Yeah, I moved out of the bank as well to a wealth management company, where then I helped set up the whole roadmap for the whole of our organization there. and then came back over here. Now I work with a department called Enterprise Engineering, where we have 20,000 developers, and our team supports them, and I as an architect look after the roadmap for the whole of that tooling for our engineers basically. So yeah, here we are. And I mean, Hagarta, I think covered most of the points I wanted to say. Be curious, take all the opportunities you take, and think about yourself in the future, where you will be actually have those role models. And importantly, the most things which influence you is the people. So make a good network. I'll say that. That's me, I guess. Over to you, it.
Hi, thank you, Abhishek.
Yuvit?
Yes, hi. Can everyone hear me? Yes,
Yes.
okay. I'll give it a go then. So hi everyone, my name is Yvette. As you can see on the little picture there. So I'm currently a commercial banking graduate trainee at Natwest. So I actually only joined in September this year. So it's been almost 3 months now, and I rejoined after the internship. So I'll share a bit more later on. But I'm just going to start with sharing my background and then my career journey into NatWest and the importance of technology and data into my role. So I was born and raised in Hong Kong until 16 years old. And after that, I was very fortunate to receive a scholarship to study in the US. So I have lived there for 3 years as well. My family decided to move out of Hong Kong because of the change of political environment. So we migrated to the UK in early 2021. So I appreciate maybe a lot of you can also echo to this. It was a new education system to me. And as a first generation student, so that means my parents did not go to university. I thought university was my only option. I did not know of any apprenticeships, any other options. So I think it is great that you're here today, so you can be more informed of your choices. Um, so yeah, I just look at university, look at UCAS. I ended up studying law at the University of East Anglia. During my first year, I learned about banking and finance law in a webinar. That actually drew me to a career in banking instead. So here I am today, not in law. I came across NetWest's job advertisement about its insight experience for women. So I applied for the commercial banking program. And actually, in fact, the applications are welcome from anyone. So it's not only limited to those identified as women, but I'm very glad to see NetWest's commitment in improving gender balance in the industry. Um, and I also appreciate some of you today here are part of Next Tech Girls. So we also have other programs such as software engineering, data and analytics, digital transformation, etc. So going back to Insight Week that I attended, all the attendees were fast-tracked to an assessment center, and I was successful there in securing the commercial banking internship at NatWest. So at the end of my second year at university, I completed my internship in the commercial banking digital team. And received a return offer. So I finished my final year and rejoined NatWest in September this year, as I mentioned earlier. So currently I'm in the national sectors team. As part of the graduate program, I will rotate to 3 more teams throughout the 2-year program. So I think law is arguably a more traditional industry. I've never used Excel at school or in a legal work environment, but I enjoy my current role. Even in commercial banking, a lot of work are exposed to technology and data. For example, I've learned to call in an application programming interfaces, API, some of you might know, to analyze customer engagement or create pivot tables in Excel to report on opportunities and risk in the team. So now I feel a lot more aligned to the modern world compared to when I was studying law, because technology and data are the trends that shaping how we live today. So I personally joined NatWest via the graduate pathway. But looking back, I don't think one pathway is better than another. For example, like university and joining as a graduate. It really comes down to personal preference and circumstances. As Kelly mentioned, we also have some apprentices on the call today, which will be able to provide more insights into the apprenticeship programs if you're interested. And I try to keep my speech short, but if there's anything you would like to know more specifically, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I will share a link in the chat in a minute. Thank you.
Right, now, if we could just go over to Amy. Amy, please come in. Thank you.
Hi, Callie. Thank you so much for that. Can we pop onto the next slide? Sorry.
Before we do that, is it worth running our mentee slide, which is earlier in the deck, in case the young people have any questions? Kelly, did you intend to run the mentee Q&As now or after Amy's presentation?
I think we can do it. Maybe we should do it after Amy,
Okay.
just in case they've got any questions as to what Amy's going to ask, and then we can run it if that's okay. I think that
Of
would be
course, no,
helpful.
good. That's a good call. No problem. I
Thank
will
you.
move to Amy's slide.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much. That's amazing. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. My name's Amy, and I am a programme consultant within the Learning and Development team at Natwest. We have a focus on Thrive, which Callie mentioned earlier on. Thrive merges our youth employability programme, Money Sense, and all youth-related content together. So it's a very exciting part to be working in. And I was delighted to be invited here tonight to speak to you all. So thank you very much. So a bit about me, I've worked in the bank for 6 years in various different roles. One of my roles was an apprenticeship in providing financial services, where I worked in the Royal Bank of Scotland real estate for 18 months. But bearing in mind the apprenticeship was only 12 months, I just stayed on for another 6. Yvette actually made a great note to say that no one pathway is better than another. They are all equally as wonderful as each other, and you can see on the screen the different pathways that we offer. I would just say that a great advantage, and it's something that has been mentioned throughout our time with our panelists earlier on, is the networking. It's a common theme through all pathways, but massively through these programs specifically, because everybody will want to help you, whether you are a new colleague, an old colleague, an apprentice, intern, or a graduate. So I guess we'll look at apprenticeships first. So NatWest offers various apprenticeship schemes providing hands-on experience and formal qualifications. This is suitable for those seeking alternatives to traditional education or career changes. Applicants typically need to be at least 16 years old, with entry requirements varying by role, and programmes are available in technology, customer service, project management, finance and HR, leading to roles such as software developer or risk analyst, so the ones that kind of Callie mentioned a bit earlier on in the slide deck. Apprenticeships combine paid training with study for recognised qualifications, with salaries ranging from £22,500 to £29,500 annually, and applications for 2025 programmes open in spring of 2025. The programme then starts in October, which is great. Interested individuals should apply via our website, which you can see linked on the slide deck. Ellen, can I just ask, will this slide deck be sent out to the participants of the call?
Yes, we will be PDFing and sending this to all the participants.
Fantastic, thank you very much. So that means that you'll have the slide deck and you'll be able to click on the link. Same goes for the other 2 pathways that I will be talking to you about today. Which brings me on nicely to interns. So NatWest offers a range of internships designed to provide hands-on experience, mentorship, skill building and networking opportunities in finance, markets and software engineering. And why choose the internships? What's so special about those? So internships at NatWest provide experience on real projects, mentorship, skill building workshops, networking opportunities and community impact through local initiatives. The options that we have for internships are included in finance, market, software engineering, with opportunities to work on trading, risk management, and cutting-edge technology. These internships typically last 8 to 10 weeks, with some international options lasting 6 months. So there's many benefits to being an intern. They earn a competitive salary, would enhance your skills. You could collaborate on projects and may secure a spot in the graduate programme as well. So if you did do an internship at Natwest, it is possible that that would then lead on to a graduate placement, which is absolutely fabulous. Eligibility typically requires being in the penultimate year of university, with applications opening in late 2024 for next year. So if you wanted to go the year after this, you would apply late 2025. Speaking of the grad programme, I'll move on to that one next. So NatWest, sorry, I need to put my teeth in. NatWest graduate programmes offer early career development through practical work experience, professional qualifications, and personal development over 2 to 3 years. There's many advantages of being a graduate as well. These include multiple placements within the bank, a structured application process, skills development, and strong support systems. So the graduates do what's called a kind of roll between their time with us. The typical one would last 2 years, and that would mean that you do 4 placements. So you actually rotate around the business into different departments, which is just great because it gives you exposure to different places in the bank that you might not have thought existed. So graduates often move into roles like business analysts and data analysts, contributing to areas such as digital transformation and fraud prevention, but there are so many that I just wouldn't really have time to cover all the different ways that you could go with that. There's lots of support for all of our programs, but graduates are supported by mentors, managers, and peer networks, including a buddy system during the initial months. These connections provide guidance throughout the programme. It's something that is also offered on your apprenticeship, that you'll be matched with a buddy and they'll help you if you have any questions throughout your time as an apprentice. So thank you very much for listening to me about all of the pathways. I'll pop my LinkedIn in the chat, and please do ask if you have any questions. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. Would we be able to move on just to the next slide? Okay, so are we going to put up the slide for asking questions in case anybody feels like they'd like to ask a question using the online tool that Ellen just mentioned? You can do that, so go ahead and scan that code. Or if you want to just either put your hand up and ask a question, please go ahead and do that now, and we will direct your question to the appropriate person. So the lines should all be open for you. You should all be able to go off mute, and you're all welcome to come in anytime you would like to. If there's any hands up. Are we shy?
So Migrant Leaders Mentees, either unmute yourself, put your camera on and ask a question, or use the mentee method by scanning this QR code and asking any questions. But please do one or the other.
That's okay.
Or both.
Yeah. And we've got plenty of time because we made sure that we gave you all plenty of time to digest some of the things that you've heard this evening, and to feel very welcome and go ahead and ask a question.
I've got some questions coming in on mentee.
Lovely.
So in fact, they're both asking, do you offer work experience for year 12 students?
Oh, Amy, that one for you, Amy?
Yes, absolutely. So work experience is offered, but it is through all of our social mobility partners. So our social mobility partners include Career Ready, and I don't think we work with the Sutton Trust any longer, so it would be through Career Ready. This is also linked on our website as well. And it would be like a school that participates with Career Ready that you would be guided through into work experience with us, which I run. It's a great program. So if your school don't work with Career Ready, I would really recommend giving them a little Google and encouraging your school teachers to just kind of ask a bit more about that. I'm happy to connect offline with that one as well if you do want to add me on LinkedIn, and I can send you any more details.
Amazing. Portia, do we have any other questions?
We do. Would you like two at the same time, or would you like them one at a time?
One at a time, please.
Okay, so the next one is, if you could start your life again, do you think you'd go down the same path?
Ooh, should we give that one over to Noel, because see whether Noel's sounds better.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, a lot better. Thank you, Noel.
Okay, I've gone on my phone instead of the laptop. Would I do the same? I guess growing up in the 70s, there were traditional job roles, and it wasn't until probably in the 1980s that we realized, and you can study anything by moving into IT. So I don't think so. I mean, whatever you study, you can always veer into IT, into banking, whatever, apprenticeship or whatever. So would I do the same thing? I'll probably be a writer. I like writing detective books, but here I am working in IT.
That's amazing. Well, we've got someone on the meeting this evening with us, and that's one of our colleagues, Sheena Hales. And I just wonder, Sheena, that's such a great question. Would you choose anything different?
You know what? I think when I was younger, I thought you just had to have one job. And then suddenly at some point, I recognized that you could have your career could be a whole range of different jobs. And I think that's probably what's quite exciting about working for a big organization is you might be a scrum master, you might be a product owner, you might become an analyst, and the mights are depending on your intention, how hard what you study, what you look at, who you connect with, what you apply for, what you apply yourself to. So I think probably what's different is that I was really ignorant when I was younger. I really just thought there was one job, that's what you did. And it took me a very long time to realise it could be quite exciting, could be a different journey. So I love where I am at the moment. But could I do something different? Yeah, we all have ambitions. So on the side, there's a few side hustles that I'm thinking of. Why not? Life is an adventure. So think about that as well.
Yeah. Ellen, that's such a great question. I can't help but come to you next. Do you mind if you answer that same question? I think it's so helpful for everybody on the call.
Callie, thank you. Until I started Migrant Leaders, every year I used to inadvertently imagine the could have, should have, would have. Could I have done better if I went into investment banking first? Would it have been better to do things in different order? Could I have achieved more? Am I doing the right things? But since launching Migrant Leaders, I feel like everything, including the tough moments and trials and tribulations, everything I went through was meant to be. And that's why I have the right skills and motivation to do Migrant Leaders. So I thought, okay, then, so how do other people end up with what they're supposed to do? And the one thing that might be a little bit different about my approach is that I never looked for really the glory or the money as primary objective. I always try to solve the customer's problem. Whatever markets, industries, or companies I went to, they had customer problems that I felt I can help solve given my natural strengths. And there were customers who I felt affiliated towards and cared about. So I think if you stick with being customer centric and solving the customers, your companies, and your colleagues' business problems, you can't go far wrong, really, and you will hopefully end up where you're meant to be.
That sounds so good. Thank you so much, Ellen, for that. I'd like to go back to Fawzia, if that's okay. Have we got any other questions online, please?
We do. We have a couple more about apprenticeships and internships, but so you can either have, we're asking any recommendations for finding work experience for year 12, and what's the recruitment process like for interns and in apprenticeships? Or there's another sort of more general question, is it easy to balance work life and personal life? So you choose, Callie, which way do you want to go?
Well, I'd like to hear a little bit from our apprentices on the line, if that's okay. I think we've got Annabelle here. Annabelle,
Yes, hi.
hello. Come
hi.
in, please.
Yeah, so the question about kind of the recruitment process and going into an apprenticeship. Well, I along with my colleague Kevin, we have kind of a unique pathway into apprenticeships where we worked with a charity, kind of similar to the one here, that helps young people kind of get roles in finance, and helps people that young people that might find higher education, might have certain barriers to higher education. For myself, I have ADHD, and that made university really quite a struggle for me. And I was determined to, be resilient, as some of all of the lovely people that have been speaking today. Resilience is huge. And I wanted to find another way into where I wanted to be. I wanted to be a software engineer. I wanted to do coding. And the apprenticeship was a fantastic opportunity to kind of get your foot in the door with that. And the recruitment process, I would say, my advice would be, do research. Really, don't be afraid to Google, dive in. The NatWest group website is fantastic. It's got so much information about the way they work, kind of their kind of priorities, their aims, and also their what's going on in the communities around them. That's all fantastic information for you to have in your back pocket for your interview. I would really recommend, learning about that and keeping notes on that. Also looking into their critical people capabilities, and learning how you can apply what you've done and put that in that framework. I promise you, no matter what you've done in school, anything that you've done in your life, it will fit into CPCs. So don't feel like you've had to have like 50,000 jobs to be applicable. You can, if you think about it, you have those skills. You can translate them forward, and that would be something I'd really highlight and recommend.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Annabelle. That was the CPCs, is the critical people capabilities, just in case anybody wants to know that.
Yes.
And you can look that up online as well, I believe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, all of that information is available, I
Brilliant.
believe, on the website.
Well, I've got to hand it to Annabelle. She's only been with us for literally a few weeks, and she just sounds like she's been working at NatWest for a long, long time. I think it is literally weeks.
2 years.
So,
2 years.
how long was it?
2 years, yes.
They've been here for. Is it actually?
Yes, 2 years. I've been an apprentice for 2 years. I've just
It's
finished.
2 years. Sorry, I
Yeah.
thought that when we spoke the other day, you'd only been here for a few months or something like that. Or
No, sorry.
So maybe I picked that up incorrectly, but no, you sound wonderful.
Can I
Kevin-
interject with a follow-up question for Annabelle?
Yeah.
Please? So somebody else is asking, following what you said, Annabelle, is there any part of the job that you wouldn't recommend to people who may struggle with any mental disorders, or is it pretty diverse?
Oh, I would say it is. I would say it's the most supportive I've been. I've tried, I've done quite a few things. I've obviously gone through school. I've done a bit kind of a college kind of apprenticeship, and I've also done university 2 separate times. And this opportunity has been the most supported I've been in terms of neurodiversity. Your manager, your line manager, is fully equipped to deal with it. There's also employee-led networks dedicated to all sorts of things, not just neurodiversity, all sorts of things, and they will support you. Also, NatWest is just fantastic with this resources. They do spotlight sessions. if you get in, the internet is full of information. They have well-being champions that you can talk to. There's so many different avenues that support you. It really is a very inclusive employer. So I would, have faith. It's definitely a challenge, but you are definitely well supported in NatWest, I would feel.
Thank you. Okay, back to you, Fawzia. Do we have any other online questions?
We do. So a general question, when hiring, what do you look for as employers?
Do you want me to take that one?
Yeah, I think so, unless we've got anybody on the panel that wanted to take it.
I was
Sheena,
Sorry, I was just going to say about transferable skills and that all of your skills are transferable. So each and every skill that you have is probably a great one, and that you can use that uniquely to, push your abilities and get the job. But I'll let Sheena kind of take over on that one.
No, I think that's a brilliant ad, and we've already heard earlier on about the CPCs as well. I was just really going to add that, our interviews are CPC based.
yeah.
So we ask questions that would be like, tell us about a time where you have used your network to do something creative, or you've problem solved to do something. So it's very practical. So, you get to choose what part of your life you use to explain that. So it might be that you can say, I was a volunteer in a community organisation, and, I problem solved a situation, and this is how I did it. It's really helpful to think about STAR. So what's the situation? What's the task? What's the action? And lastly, sort of, what would you do differently? So I think those kind of tips are probably really helpful. It's also important to notice that on our website, you'll also be able to go in and get some tips on interviewing. So again, we'll make sure that you've got that link so that you can use that on a practical level. And notice, Kevin, you've got your hand up, haven't you? So shall I pass to you?
Yeah, well, hi everybody. Well, my question was, I heard that there was a question about work-life balance. I was quite keen on answering that one, unless somebody wanted to answer that before I did.
Go ahead.
But yeah, so referring to my experience when I did join, I came from a situation where it was quite tough. Like I was working in a warehouse, like it was Amazon. Like I didn't have a car as well, so that the work-life balance wasn't it, because like when I slept, like when I was off, that's when I slept, and when I was awake, I was working. That was really bad. So when coming into NatWest, right? When you're doing an apprenticeship, right, you got your academic side, and then you got the work experience side, right? So most of the time this is like 80-20%. So 80% of your time you're working, right? You're working, again, that experience, again that, and 20% of your week you're putting in that work into your academics, right? So like you do have time to settle down and think about your essays and things like that, and then you got time to attend shadow sessions with either your mentors or senior developers and things like that. And yeah, so like with regarding apprenticeships, it's quite great. I would say I have been quite lucky, because with everybody that I've met within NatWest, they have been great to me. Like they have taken care of me, because I was quite, obviously, considering where I came from, I was thinking it was going to be the same kind of work environment, but they do take care of you about when you do have concerns about pressures or being stressed out about work life. They will come toward, like, well, they'll come to your rescue, basically, and just offer you some help regarding that. So yeah, that's basically it.
Kevin, I just also want to say that I reached out to you after being introduced to you via Annabelle, which was absolutely fantastic. And to go back to the question before, you've got so much enthusiasm, and I think that goes an awful long way when you're applying for a role, because you may, put your hand up and say, look, I haven't had any experience in this, but if you're keen and you're willing to learn, and you're, all of those things go a long way as well. So I did see somebody with their hand up. I thought it was Carl, but I'm not sure if you've got your hand up anymore, or if you took it down, or if you didn't have your hand up and I made that up. No problem. Okay.
Kali, can I add to the two questions actually? I mean, the work-life balance and the what we look into the interview. Just want to add my perspective. So, means as an interviewer, it's like Sheena said, the interview is very structured. So we get a set of questions. We have to ask the same questions to everyone. What
Yeah.
we look means, at least from my perspective, is about not what you know, it's about how you learn it. It's about attitude, how you go about the things other than what you know, because skills can't match perfectly any day for the job. It's just about how you attitude and how you fit into the team, basically. So that's the most important thing. And then what Sheena said is a star model you have to follow, and this is how you have to showcase how you have approached that particular problem, basically. About the work-life balance, actually, I mean, how do I explain? I've been managing apprentice. So first thing I told them was, it's your time and you have to manage it. It's more about time management from that person, yourself itself. And if you are feeling pressure that too much work or too less work, then you have to talk to your line manager and work it out with them. So that's the best part, actually. And in the bank, we are very supportive in that case. And in general, you slowly learn about how you manage your own time, you do your own personal stuff, and finish your commitments as well towards the bank.
If I can add about that question, whether an interviewee asks an interviewer, how does your firm or how does NatWest manage work-life balance? I would say to migrant leaders mentees that this is a relevant question and it's an important topic, but I don't consider it a good interview question because it's one of those questions that's very risky. Some interviewers will interpret that as this is not someone who is asking about what is your approach to work-life balance? How can I better strike work-life balance in my career in NatWest? Some, at least half the interviewers, in my opinion, and it is an opinion, will interpret that to mean that the interviewee doesn't want to put in the important time and hours and focus on outputs and outcomes and results-driven attitude from the beginning of their career. They're asking about work-life balance. It might make the wrong impression, even though it's an important issue. You must have a good work-life balance, and it is a relevant question, but I don't think it's a good interview question when you're trying to get a job. That's a question for your line manager and colleagues when you've got the job already.
Ellen, can I ask, is a better question, what do you love about working here yourself? Because then you get to hear what it is that is really important, and it will give you an indication. Yeah.
That's a brilliant question, Sheena, for an interviewee to ask, because if they ask that, then the interviewer can't say what it says on the NatWest website. They're going to have to give their own opinion, their real impression, genuine answer. And that's what you want to know from NatWest people, what it's really like to work for NatWest. That's a brilliant question. Thank you, Sheena.
Great. Okay, Fawzia, have we got any other questions online?
We have.
Amazing. Well, should we just have one more question then? We might have room for two, but let's have a go.
Yeah, I can see that Amy has put in the chat the application process. So that's addressed one of the questions that was raised earlier. And so the final question that I think is going to be a nice one is, can you describe how mentorship has influenced your career so far?
Oh. Who on the panel hasn't spoken yet? Because I'd love, Yvette, have you come in and answered a question? Would you like to come in and answer that one for us?
Yeah, of course. I believe Amy have mentioned, as a graduate trainee, I got a mentor that comes with me throughout the 2 years program. So we have a weekly one-to-one catch up. So that has been very helpful, definitely in terms of, I think, from transitioning from education to working life, some small things I don't know how to approach, and I can always go to her. And we also have something called like a career hub. So that means you can actually put in your skills that you want to develop, and then from the algorithm, it will suggest you who can be your potential mentor. So by that way, you can really reach out to the people that the system suggested, and you will get another mentor if you want to. And I think mentor has always been very good and helping me in terms of my careers. In terms like they know a lot more about the bank. If I have certain interests, they can signpost me to certain areas. So yeah, I think mentor is definitely a very kind of like good learning opportunity that I would really recommend to do it.
So I'd like to
Thank
keep
you.
it to 30 seconds. I was a graduate coach for 2 years from 2020 to about 2022. And yes, as a graduate coach, what you do is take the graduates throughout other areas of the bank that they are not aware of.
That's
And
amazing.
you need to look at the end-to-end process of banking completely. So there are areas that maybe because of their rotation, what they are learning, but you bring in extras, and that makes them a little bit wholer in terms of looking at banking. Yeah. And
Agatha, can we come
Uh,
to you?
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. I'd like to add just a slightly different perspective to this question. So besides the mentors that you can get at the workplace, you can, I would suggest you get, I would suggest that you have maybe more than one mentor for different areas of your life. I've got this advice before, and that has really helped me. So you can get a mentor who has a similar path of what you want to follow, and they will be maybe your role model if you can find anyone that has the path that you want to follow. But also maybe meet up with other people or have mentors that have a maybe slightly different perspective, because that opens really different doors that you might not have thought of before. And beside mentorship, which I think is very popular, what I have found that is really important or makes a difference is sponsorship. And I feel like early in my career, I wasn't aware that that was something, but having sponsors as well is really important. So a sponsor is someone that kind of advocates for you behind closed doors or mentions your name behind closed doors. And those people can really help elevate your career or point you to opportunities that you didn't know that were there. So I definitely look out for both. They're slightly different, but both very important to have along in your career journeys.
Amazing. Wow, thank you. I'd like just to go back to the slide deck, if that's okay, because we've got a couple of QR codes, I think. Ellen, if that's all right. I'm just trying to see where we are with it. So first of all, let's go over to you, Ellen, and just have a little chat about your Migrant Magic book, if that's all right. And then after that, I think we've got a word cloud and a feedback form for everybody just to scan. So over to you, Ellen.
Thank you, Kelly. As we had plenty of questions from migrant leaders mentees, I won't take too much of your time. I wrote the book Migrant Magic primarily for the mentees. It's really all the tips and stories that I could put together of how my journey was, but also of 60 migrant leaders mentors who themselves were migrants and are now sort of senior and experienced professionals. So I would encourage everybody to take a look at Migrant Magic. You can purchase it on Amazon, but if you want a signed copy, if you want to purchase a signed copy, I can post it to you and you can purchase it from me. Just email me. I'll put my email address on the chat. And those Natwest professionals who aren't yet a migrant leaders mentor can also email me for some information. So please watch out for my email address. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. Can we move on to the next slide? Yeah, this is a really nice slide for me. I just wanted to ask if everybody could just scan that QR code and just put up one word of how you're now feeling now that you've heard this conversation. Yeah, how do you feel about your future career now? And we will just take that away. I'd like just to see how everyone is. And then finally, I think we've got a feedback form right at the end. You can just take your time, fill that out, even after this call. Just let us know how we can improve this type of session, you know, and what we can do better going forward. I'd really appreciate that. It's 6 o'clock, so I think it's now the end of the event. And I just want to say thank you all so much for joining. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I hope that you all got a lot out of this event. Thank you very much.
I'm just seeing all these words here. Looks lovely. Positive, great, happy, motivated, inspired, hopeful, yet confused. Okay, well, stay in touch with us. Make sure you stay linked in. Contact one of us and let us know how we can help you become more confident and more aware of what you need. We want to be there for you.
I think confused sometimes can be just the option kind of confusion, isn't it? So yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
If people are confused about their options, that's a good thing. We would like to help more.
Yeah, before we dial off, I should say there was a Persian scientist from 1,000 years ago who said, now that I have learned much about my science, I realize that I know nothing.
Exactly.
So the confusion actually comes from
Knowledge.
realizing how much you don't know, and
Exactly.
that shows you're learning.
Yeah.
If you think you know everything, then it shows you haven't been learning on this webinar.
Exactly.